Chosen one. You did not arrive here by accident, and this message did not find you randomly. Heaven scheduled this encounter long before this moment, and your spirit was guided here by divine timing that cannot be replicated or delayed. What you are sensing right now is not curiosity, it is recognition. You are standing at a prophetic intersection where instruction alignment and supernatural provision are converging. Chosen one, there is a shift taking place in the unseen, and you are positioned at the very edge of a financial breakthrough that does not follow human timelines or systems. This is not about striving harder, waiting longer, or proving your worth. This is about alignment. As it is written, the vision is for an appointed time, and that appointed time is now pressing into your life, as declared in Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 3. Anointed one, heaven is preparing sudden elevation, divine wealth transfer, and resources that arrive with speed you did not expect. What exists in the realm of the Spirit is already complete, and you're about to learn how to step into what has been reserved for you. The same God who moves provision across the earth in a moment is aligning your consciousness to receive without delay. Settle your spirit. Open your heart. What follows is not information alone. It is an activation, a sacred recalibration, a call into the reality where heaven funds the assignment placed on your life. Chosen one, hear this with the deepest part of your spirit. What you are stepping into is not theory, not imagination, not wishful thinking. It is alignment. It is divine timing, converging with the maturity of your soul. There comes a moment in every anointed life when heaven stops hinting and starts intervening, when God no longer whispers direction but ushers you into a shift so undeniable that even your doubt bows before it. This is that moment for you. You are not listening by curiosity, you are listening because something in the unseen has recognized that you are finally ready to carry what once would have crushed you. And I say this with the weight of someone who has walked through seasons where abundance felt distant and the promise felt delayed. I remember days when I questioned whether breakthrough was real or simply poetic language spoken to comfort the weary. But every time I surrendered, every time I stopped wrestling with timing and started aligning with God's rhythm, doors opened that logic could not explain. That is why I can speak this over you with conviction. What you seek is closer than it has ever been. Heaven is already leaning in your direction. The oil on your life is already signaling to the realms beyond sight that you are prepared for accelerated manifestation. Chosen one. So many people misunderstand the nature of divine wealth. They think it is built solely through grind hours, sweat, and striving. But supernatural provision is not earned through exhaustion. It is accessed through alignment. The wealthy places of the Spirit do not open when your hands are tired. They open when your heart is calibrated. When your inner world matches heaven's frequency, financial flow becomes a natural response, not a forced achievement. And I know this does not fit the narrative you were taught. You were conditioned to believe that abundance must be slow, that success must be painful, that prosperity must be proven through suffering. But heaven never required struggle to validate blessing. That expectation came from culture, not from God. When God moves, he moves suddenly. When he elevates swiftly. When he releases provision, it often comes in ways that feel undeserved, because grace does not check your resume, it checks your readiness. Anointed. 1. Imagine for a moment the way global systems move money in an instant, transactions across continents, wealth shifting hands in milliseconds. If earthly networks can transfer that much resource with such speed, how much more can the Creator of the universe move on your behalf when your spirit is aligned with His purpose? And perhaps you've felt glimpses of this before, those sudden opportunities that came out of nowhere, those intuitive nudges that led to increase those seasons where you earned more in a moment than you did in months. These were not coincidences. They were rehearsals, heaven giving you previews of the timeline you were always meant to walk in. The challenge was never the absence of abundance. It was the presence of interference. Doubt, fear, scarcity, old beliefs, these created static in your spiritual frequency. They made it difficult for you to receive what was already being broadcast toward you. And I know what that feels like. I've lived through seasons where my inner storms drowned out the voice of possibility, where I was so used to disappointment that blessings felt suspicious, where I prayed for God to open doors, but braced myself for them to stay shut. But the moment I learned to silence the noise, to trust the timing of heaven rather than the logic of circumstance, that was the moment everything changed. This is what I need you to understand. Abundance is not something you chase. It is something you tune into. You do not pull wealth toward you. You align with what is already yours in the spirit. Just as radio waves fill a room, even when the receiver is off, abundance surrounds you, even when your consciousness has not yet learned to detect it. But today marks a turning point. Your awareness is waking up. Your spirit is remembering its authority, and heaven is preparing to synchronize your inner world with the timeline where increase flows effortlessly. Chosen one. This is not fantasy. This is not emotional hype. This is spiritual law. When you shift, everything around you shifts. When you rise, reality rearranges to meet you at the level of your expectation. And right now, heaven is positioning you to access wealth not through toil, but through alignment. Not through desperation, but through calibration. Not through begging, but through becoming. You are being prepared to step into a reality where abundance is not an event, it is a lifestyle. Where provision does not surprise you, it follows you. Where opportunities do not trickle in, they overflow. Your spirit knows this truth already, even if your mind is learning to catch up. Chosen one. As you move deeper into this revelation, let your spirit open fully. Because what we are touching now is the foundation of accelerated manifestation, not the shallow kind built on empty positivity, but the kind forged in spiritual awareness, identity, and divine resonance. There is a reason heaven waits until a certain moment to release a shift like this. Breakthrough is never random. It arrives when the vessel is prepared, when the atmosphere is aligned, and when the soul has matured enough to steward what the hands have not yet touched. And whether you realize it or not, you have been in preparation for a long time. Every delay you endured, every closed door that confused you, every season where nothing made sense, they were not punishments, they were calibrations. Times when God adjusted your frequency, not to deprive you, but to prepare you. I know what it's like to wonder whether the silence meant rejection or whether God was withholding something because you weren't worthy yet. I've walked through years when I questioned if I had missed my moment. But what I discovered on the other side of that confusion changed everything. God does not withhold to punish, He withholds to perfect. The blessings tied to your name were never denied. They were preserved. Anointed one, there are timelines of abundance already existing in the spirit versions of your life, where wealth flows easily, opportunities find you, resources multiply, and doors open without resistance. The challenge is not creating these timelines. God already did that. The challenge is learning to step into them, and this is where consciousness alignment and spiritual awareness become crucial. Think of it like a path illuminated only when your heart reaches a certain posture. Until then, it remains unseen. The moment your inner world shifts, the moment you release the fear that has been gripping you, the moment you stop asking, "How will it happen?" and begin declaring, "It is already happening," that is the moment the path becomes visible and heaven responds with speed. Because faith is not passive belief. It is spiritual permission for heaven to intervene. Chosen one. I've witnessed this firsthand, not only in my life, but in countless others who finally surrendered their old patterns. People who struggled for years suddenly stepped into financial overflow within days. Opportunities that seemed impossible materialized as if pulled out of thin air. It wasn't luck, and it wasn't coincidence. It was divine synchronization, the moment consciousness, expectation, and timing aligned. And I've seen the opposite too. Gifted people, anointed people, people with incredible potential, who stayed stuck because their inner world was out of tune with heaven's frequency. They worked harder than everyone else, prayed fervently, pushed endlessly, but their mindset was aligned with scarcity, so everything they touched felt heavy. Their hands worked, but their spirit resisted. This is why your inner calibration matters more than any strategy, any plan, or any amount of effort. Abundance is not attracted by exhaustion. It is attracted by alignment. You may not realize how close you are to breakthrough. Sometimes the final stretch feels the hardest because your old identity senses it is about to be replaced. The fear you feel is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that your old frequencies are cracking. The resistance is not punishment. It is spiritual shedding. You are outgrowing patterns that once felt comfortable. And yes, discomfort can feel like a threat, but it is actually confirmation that expansion has begun. Do not run from it. Do not interpret the stretching as danger. It is heaven enlarging your capacity for more. But to fully access the wealth timeline God designed for you, your consciousness must rise into agreement with it. Scarcity cannot coexist with supernatural acceleration. Doubt cannot stand in the same room as divine overflow. Anointed one, wealth in the spirit begins long before it appears in the natural. There are frequencies of abundance surrounding you right now, ideas waiting to drop into your mind, opportunities drifting toward your path, people speaking your name in rooms you haven't entered yet. But abundance does not chase confusion. It follows clarity. When you declare who you are, what you carry, and what heaven has ordained for you, everything around you begins responding differently. This is why the most powerful shifts happen internally before they ever manifest externally. God elevates the inner man before he promotes the outer one. He aligns your identity before he aligns your reality. And this is where your transformation becomes unstoppable, when you stop trying to convince yourself that you deserve abundance and start recognizing that you were created for it. Not by ego, but by design. Not for greed, but for impact. Your wealth assignment is not selfish, it is sacred. It positions you to fund visions, support others, break generational patterns, and walk in the fullness of who God has called you to be. Every chosen one carries a mandate, and every mandate requires provision. Heaven does not call without supplying, and I know this deep in my bones because I have lived through seasons where God provided before I even knew what I needed. Provision is already circling your life, waiting for you to rise into the version of yourself who can hold it. Chosen one. Lift your expectation. Heaven responds to expectation the way soil responds to seed with multiplication. What you prepare for, you attract, and what you align with, you receive. This is your moment to step into a higher frequency, to shift from hoping for abundance to embodying it. You are not moving toward wealth. Wealth is moving toward you, guided by the signal your spirit emits when you finally believe you are worthy, ready, and aligned. Chosen one. As we step even deeper into this prophetic unfolding, allow your spirit to soften and expand, because what is being revealed now is not merely information, it is impartation. This is the realm where heaven begins to rewrite your inner patterns, where the old narratives of struggle lose their authority, and where a new financial identity begins to rise within you, like light breaking through a long, silent dawn. You may not fully realize it yet, but something in you has already shifted. The moment your heart leaned into this message, the moment your spirit said, "There must be more than what I've seen," the atmosphere around your destiny began to rearrange itself. Heaven responds to hunger not passively, but aggressively. The angels assigned to your financial destiny move with precision the moment your consciousness opens to possibility. And whether you feel it or not, that opening has already begun within you. Anointed one, I need you to understand the depth of what is happening. Many people chase abundance, but few prepare their spirit to receive it. They want overflow, but their inner world is structured for survival, not expansion. They speak the language of increase, yet carry the posture of limitation. But you are stepping out of that cycle. Your spirit is being taught to receive, not resist. To expand, not contract. To rise, not retreat. And I say this because I've seen what happens when a person finally allows their divine identity to outweigh their earthly conditioning. I've watched fear dissolve, opportunities multiply, and doors open that had been sealed shut for generations. It is not because the person suddenly became lucky. It is because their inner frequency changed. Chosen one. You have lived much of your life believing that wealth was outside of you, something you needed to chase, earn, fight for, or qualify for. But heaven is teaching you now that true abundance begins within. It is birthed in your thoughts, nurtured in your expectations, and activated in your beliefs. When you believe you lack, every opportunity will look too big, too risky, or too unlikely. When you believe you are unworthy, everything that comes toward you will feel accidental. But when you believe you are aligned, truly aligned, abundance flows toward you as naturally as water flows toward the lowest point. It does not hesitate. It does not question. It simply responds. I know this because I have lived in both worlds. There were seasons where I tried to force prosperity through effort alone, where I exhausted myself, chasing every opportunity, pushing every door, fighting every battle. I thought that success was a reward for suffering. But the more I pushed, the further abundance seemed to run. It wasn't until I surrendered, truly surrendered, that the breakthrough came. Not when I was strongest, but when I was aligned. Not when I was striving, but when I was open. That was when unexpected financial blessings appeared in my life, not as isolated miracles, but as a pattern. That was when I realized abundance is not earned, it is received. And it is received by those whose inner world is calibrated to believe that overflow is their divine inheritance. Chosen one, heaven is inviting you into this same awareness. The divine does not want you to merely survive. You were not born to scrape by, to settle, or to shrink your vision to match your fear. You were born to rise in such a way that even the people around you recognize the hand of God upon your life. Wealth is not simply money. It is the expansion of capacity, the breaking of old cycles, the restoration of what was stolen, and the realignment of your life with heaven's blueprint. This is why you have felt the stirring in your spirit lately. This is why your old desires no longer satisfy you. This is why you feel an uncomfortable pull towards something greater. It is not ambition, it is calling. Anointed One, your financial breakthrough is not waiting on perfect circumstances. It is waiting on your agreement. Heaven operates by alignment, not luck. And alignment happens the moment you stop treating abundance as a distant dream and begin treating it as a present reality. A reality that exists around you now in the unseen, waiting for your consciousness to tune into it. Just as radio waves fill a room, even when no device is tuned to receive them, abundance is all around you right now. Opportunities, insights, divine connections, waiting for one shift in your awareness to become visible. Your task is not to force it. Your task is to receive it. This is why heaven has been dismantling old beliefs. Every time you questioned your worthiness, every time you doubted whether God had anything big planned for you, those thoughts created static in your spiritual frequency. They blocked the signals of increase. But now those signals are growing stronger. You are beginning to feel intuitive nudges, sudden clarity, new ideas, subtle confirmation. These are not random. They are divine breadcrumbs leading you toward the version of yourself that already walks in abundance. Chosen One, let your expectation rise. You are not preparing for a slow climb. You are preparing for a quantum leap, a sudden shift, a divine acceleration. And the more your spirit aligns with that truth, the faster it will manifest around you. Do not shrink. Do not doubt. This is your moment to believe boldly. Chosen One. As we move further into this divine unveiling, allow your heart to stretch into new dimensions of faith, because what heaven is constructing around you requires an inner expansion. You are stepping into a realm where the old rules no longer apply, where the limitations that once governed your thinking are dissolving, and where the supernatural begins to feel natural. This is the place where abundance is no longer a distant dream, but an atmosphere, one that responds instantly to your alignment, your expectation, and your spiritual posture. Many people never enter this place because they remain tethered to the logic of their past. But you Anointed One are being separated from that pattern. Heaven is doing an internal work within you that can no longer be reversed. I need you to feel the truth of this. You are not becoming someone new. You are remembering who you were created to be. The divine identity woven into your spirit long before you ever drew breath is rising to the surface. Every moment of discomfort, every stretch in your faith, every whisper urging you to believe for more. These are signs that the old version of you is shedding, making room for the abundance frequency that has been waiting for your agreement. You're not stepping into wealth as an outsider. You are stepping back into the inheritance that heaven ordained for your life before time itself. Anointed One, your journey has not been random. Even the painful seasons were ingredients in your preparation. I know what it's like to walk through years where every step felt heavy, where financial cycles repeated like storms, where I questioned why others seemed to move forward while I stood still. But looking back, I realized something profound. Those seasons were classrooms. They sharpened my discernment, deepened my spiritual sensitivity, and taught me to recognize the subtle whisper of divine alignment. Had I received abundance earlier, I would have mishandled it. I would have sabotaged it with old patterns, fear, or self-doubt. But once my inner world shifted, once I truly accepted that God desired increase for me, doors opened that no amount of striving could have forced open. This is what heaven is preparing you for now, a chosen one. Abundance is not merely the presence of financial resources, it is the absence of inner resistance. So many people pray for overflow while still carrying beliefs that reject it. They ask for open doors but emotionally brace for disappointment. They declare wealth with their words while expecting lack in their heart. But heaven responds to alignment, not contradiction, and your alignment is strengthening. That is why you have begun to feel internal tension, not because something is wrong, but because your spirit is wrestling free from the last layers of scarcity that once defined you. These layers cannot go with you into the next dimension of your calling. The abundance that is approaching your life is not casual. It is strategic. It is tied to your assignment, your purpose, and your influence. There are people you will impact, spaces you will enter, and responsibilities you will carry that require a level of provision you have not yet experienced. This is why heaven is accelerating your transformation. The wealth that is coming is not just for your comfort, it is for your calling. It is to position you as a steward, a distributor, a vessel capable of funding visions, supporting others, breaking generational cycles, and building what God places on your heart. You are being shaped into someone who commands resources not through force, but through spiritual authority, anointed one. This is why your inner calibration matters so deeply. Wealth in the kingdom is not accessed through desperation. It is accessed through identity. Your spirit must know that you are not a beggar at the gates of heaven, you are an heir. You are not pleading for scraps, you are aligning with inheritance. And something powerful begins to happen the moment you internalize this truth. Opportunities begin to recognize you. People begin to find you. Resources begin to flow toward you. Not because you chased them, but because your inner frequency broadcasts the signal of readiness. I have seen this unfold in my own life and in the lives of others whom heaven lifted unexpectedly. They did not force their breakthrough. It arrived. They did not manipulate circumstances. Alignment created access. They did not struggle their way into overflow. They stepped into it because the version of themselves that resisted abundance could no longer remain. This is the transformation occurring within you now. Chaktan. 1. Heaven is not asking you to strive harder. Heaven is asking you to surrender deeper. To release the timeline you imagined and embrace the timing God ordained. To stop trying to figure out where the abundance will come from and instead tune your spirit to the truth that it already exists in your field. Your task is to align. Heaven's task is to deliver. And heaven never fails its assignments. This is why your awareness is awakening. Why your intuition has sharpened. Why you are sensing shifts, opportunities, and divine nudges more frequently. You are becoming aware of the abundance frequencies that have been surrounding you all along. Your spirit is learning to hear the quiet invitations, the subtle ideas, the sudden clarity, the unexpected conversations, all of which are pathways to your financial elevation. You are being guided step by step toward the version of yourself who already walks in overflow. Anointed one, let this truth settle deeply. Wealth is not coming to you, it is emerging from you. The more aligned you become, the more visible your abundance becomes. And heaven is prepared to reveal it in ways that will astonish you, accelerate you, and establish you. Chosen one. As we continue on this divine journey, feel the atmosphere around your spirit shifting. The deeper we go, the more heaven unveils the truth that abundance is not a destination, but a dimension, a realm of being where your thoughts, emotions, and expectations operate in harmony with divine flow. Many crave wealth in the natural, yet few understand that spiritual wealth must come first. Heaven always changes the inner world before it transforms the outer. And you, anointed one, are in that holy reconstruction. You are becoming someone who no longer approaches abundance with hesitation, fear, or self-doubt, but with clarity, confidence, and spiritual authority. This is not arrogance, it is identity. There is a reason why you were drawn to this message at this moment. Divine timing is not guided by coincidence, it is guided by recognition. Your spirit recognized a frequency in these words, a calling that matches something God placed within you long before life tried to convince you otherwise. You are awakening to your true inheritance, one that was never meant to be earned through exhaustion, but received through alignment. And as your awareness expands, heaven is beginning to orchestrate connections, ideas, and opportunities at a pace your old identity would not have known how to handle. Anointed one, your journey to abundance has been shaped not only by what you endured, but also by what you survived. There were seasons when finances were tight, when bills felt heavy, when solutions seemed hidden. Yet even then, you were being shaped into someone who would one day walk in overflow. The challenges you faced were not signs of abandonment, they were training. They developed your resilience, sharpened your intuition, strengthened your faith, and taught you to recognize the voice of divine instruction. You learned to hear God, even in the silence. You learned to trust, even in uncertainty, and you learned that survival was not your destiny, transformation was. I remember walking through seasons where nothing in the natural aligned with what I felt in the spirit. I had dreams too big for my circumstances, visions too large for my reality, and desires that seemed impossible given my resources. But every time I surrendered to divine timing, something miraculous happened. Ideas came that I never would have considered. People crossed my path who carried answers to prayers I hadn't even spoken aloud. Financial openings appeared in ways that bypassed logic completely. That is the beauty of supernatural alignment. It does not follow earthly rules. It bends them. Chosen one, the shift happening in your life right now is preparing you for that same kind of divine orchestration. Heaven is not asking you to understand the mechanics of the miracle, only to stay aligned with the one who performs it. This is the difference between striving and receiving. Striving says, I must make everything happen. Alignment says, I prepare inwardly, and heaven handles the rest. You are being trained to operate from alignment, not anxiety, from faith, not fear, from identity, not insecurity. You must understand something crucial: abundance is already surrounding you. The problem was never its absence, it was your awareness. Scarcity narrows perception. It makes you overlook opportunities, dismiss intuitive nudges, and underestimate your potential. But abundance consciousness expands your vision. It allows you to see possibility where others see impossibility. It helps you recognize divine timing even in ordinary moments. It positions you to receive wealth not through force, but through resonance. This is why heaven has been refining your inner world. The thoughts that once imprisoned you are losing their power. The fears that once silenced you are weakening. The doubts that once controlled your decisions are being dismantled layer by layer. You are not just learning abundance, you are becoming abundance. And when your inner world becomes abundant, your outer world follows automatically. Reality always rearranges itself to match the frequency of your consciousness. Anointed One Heaven is teaching you to operate like those who carry supernatural intuition. People who seemingly know when to move, when to wait, when to invest, and when to speak. They are not lucky, they are aligned. Their spirits are tuned to divine intelligence, allowing them to recognize wealth pathways long before they become visible to the natural eye. This is the kind of intuition you are developing now. It is a spiritual gift disguised as a practical advantage. You will begin to sense when something is for you and when it is not. You will feel prompted toward decisions that bring increase and away from choices that drain your energy. You will begin to attract people whose presence unlocks new levels of purpose, prosperity, and peace. Chosen One. The divine flow you are stepping into does not require perfection, only willingness. Your job is not to eliminate every doubt, but to elevate your faith. Not to become flawless, but to become receptive. Heaven can work with faith the size of a whisper, as long as the heart behind it is open. The shift is already happening. The alignment has already begun. All that remains is for you to continue saying yes, yes to elevation, yes to abundance, yes to the identity Heaven has spoken over you since the beginning. Your breakthrough is not ahead of you. It is within you, expanding, rising, preparing to manifest. Chosen One. As we continue into this next dimension of revelation, let your heart remain open and your spirit attentive, because what Heaven is unfolding in this moment reaches beyond intellectual understanding. This is impartation, the kind that settles into your spirit and rearranges the architecture of your inner world. You're not simply learning about abundance, you are being ushered into a profound spiritual upgrade. The very way you perceive money, opportunity, and divine provision is shifting at its roots. And when perception shifts, reality follows. Anointed One. You may not fully grasp the magnitude of what is happening, but your spirit does. That quiet stirring you feel, that sense that something invisible is aligning, that subtle awareness that a door is opening, these are confirmations. Heaven often whispers before it reveals. And right now, Heaven is whispering to you that the patterns which once governed your financial life are being dismantled one layer at a time. You are shedding frequencies of fear, releasing old beliefs of limitation, and detaching from narratives that once confined your potential. The old mindset cannot cross into the territory you are being called to possess. You know I've walked through my own seasons where lack felt louder than promise. Times when I questioned whether prosperity was meant for people like me or whether my life would forever be a cycle of just enough and almost there. But it was in those quiet, discouraging moments that God began reshaping me. Not by instantly changing my external circumstances, but by slowly renovating my inner sanctuary. One belief at a time, one fear at a time, one revelation at a time. Looking back, I see clearly that Heaven was preparing me to carry the blessing before releasing it. Because abundance placed in the hands of someone who hasn't healed internally becomes a burden, not a blessing. Heaven protects you by preparing you. Chosen One, that is what God is doing in you now. The preparation has been intense at times, even painful, but it has never been without purpose. Your spirit has been stretched, your faith has been tested, your endurance refined. And this is why the breakthrough that is approaching your life is not fragile, it is fortified. The abundance that is coming carries weight, meaning, and divine intention. It is wealth that will not slip through your fingers but will establish you. It is increase that will not disappear but will multiply. because your inner world is now capable of holding what heaven is pouring out. Anointed One, let me tell you something important. Abundance is not random. It responds to spiritual alignment the way a seed responds to fertile soil. When your thoughts, emotions, and expectations synchronize with heaven's rhythm, abundance begins to gravitate toward you. Your mind becomes a magnet for divine ideas. Your spirit becomes sensitive to supernatural timing. Opportunities recognize your readiness, and resources begin to flow in ways that surpass logic. This is what it means to be in alignment, not hoping for blessing, but attracting it. But alignment requires awareness. And awareness begins with recognizing that your life exists across multiple potential timelines, some shaped by scarcity, some by survival, and others overflowing with wealth, purpose, and divine acceleration. Heaven is guiding you toward the timeline where abundance is your natural state. The version of you that is financially free, spiritually grounded, and purpose-driven already exists. You are not creating that version, you are merging with it. Every shift in your belief, every moment of clarity, every act of faith brings you closer to embodying that abundant parallel self. Chosen One. Let me share something from my own experience. There were moments when I felt an inner nudge toward a decision that made no logical sense, whether it was pursuing a new opportunity, ending an old one, or taking a step into unknown territory. But every time I followed that inner whisper, doors opened that I didn't even know existed. Provision appeared unexpectedly. Alignments formed effortlessly, and looking back I realized those nudges weren't random thoughts. They were spiritual navigation signals, heaven guiding me into alignment with my abundant timeline. You will begin to notice these signals too. They will appear as sudden clarity, unexpected peace, or a persistent urge that refuses to fade. This is the divine signature of alignment, the way heaven confirms your steps without needing to explain the entire path. Your role is not to analyze the signal, your role is to heed it. Abundance unfolds one obedient step at a time. Anointed One. You are stepping into a realm where your decisions will carry new weight. Not because you are walking in fear, but because heaven is trusting you with more. The more aligned you become, the more authority you carry. Divine authority attracts divine opportunity. When heaven recognizes readiness, increase becomes inevitable. This is why you have been feeling a renewed sense of clarity, boldness, and even restlessness. These are the inner tremors that precede elevation. You are being called higher, spiritually, mentally, and financially. Chosen One wealth is no longer something that will come one day. It is something that is forming now, in real time, as your consciousness aligns with divine truth. Everything you believe is constructing the abundance that will soon manifest around you. This is not passive hope. This is active creation through alignment with heaven's blueprint. You are no longer operating from the frequency of who you used to be. You are rising into the frequency of who you were always meant to become. And heaven is responding. Chosen One. As we move into this next wave of revelation, allow the atmosphere around you to settle, because what heaven is preparing to unfold within you now requires stillness, not the stillness of inactivity, but the stillness of awareness. This is the sacred pause before elevation, the quiet moment where your spirit receives what your mind has not yet fully comprehended. You are entering a deeper layer of alignment, one where abundance is no longer a concept, but a spiritual frequency your entire being begins to harmonize with. And, whether you feel it or not, that frequency is growing stronger within you. Anointed One, so much of your life has been shaped not by what you lacked, but by what you believed you lacked. Scarcity is not the absence of resources, it is the presence of a belief that says, "There is not enough for me." But heaven has been breaking that belief from your spirit, piece by piece. Every moment of revelation, every shift in your mindset, every stirring in your heart has been heaven uprooting old limitations and replacing them with divine truth. You are being reconditioned to recognize abundance, not as something outside of you, but as something emerging from within you. I remember seasons in my own journey where I silently battled the belief that abundance was reserved for others, the gifted, the connected, the privileged. I convinced myself that maybe God had meaningful work for me, but not necessarily prosperity. What I didn't understand was that heaven assigns abundance according to calling, not background. The greater the assignment, the greater the provision required to fulfill it. When I finally accepted this truth, something supernatural happened inside me. My mind expanded, my spirit opened, and opportunities that had been invisible suddenly appeared. They were always there. I simply hadn't been aligned to see them. Chosen One. The same thing is beginning to happen within you. Your spiritual eyesight is sharpening, your intuition is deepening, your awareness is widening, and this expanded perception is allowing you to recognize divine cues that once went unnoticed. You're beginning to see abundance patterns, subtle invitations from heaven that guide you toward your next level. These patterns may appear as ideas that won't leave you opportunities that come unexpectedly, conversations that spark clarity, or even challenges that push you toward stronger identity. Every one of them is a thread in the fabric of your financial elevation. Anointed. One, understand this. Heaven does not elevate you blindly. The transformation you feel inside, the shifting desires, the growing confidence, the increased sensitivity, these are all indicators that your spiritual structure is catching up to the magnitude of what God is preparing to place in your hands. You are no longer the person who tolerated lack, settled for almost enough, or shrank your expectations to match your circumstances. You are becoming the version of yourself who expects abundance as naturally as you expect the sun to rise, not from entitlement, but from alignment. You are not just aligning with abundance, you are aligning with identity. Wealth in the kingdom is not just a matter of money, it is a matter of self-recognition. When you know who you are, what you carry, and who sent you, your entire posture changes. The world begins to respond differently to you because your spirit is projecting a different frequency. Opportunities recognize confidence. Provision recognizes purpose. Resources recognize readiness. And heaven recognizes when you finally believe what it has been speaking over you all along. Chosen One. There are people who will come into your life in this season not by accident, but by divine orchestration. Some will carry answers you have prayed for. Others will carry opportunities that unlock your next level. And there will be those who confirm what heaven has been whispering to you in private moments. These individuals are not random. They are strategic vessels heaven is positioning around you as part of your expansion. Do not overlook them. Divine connections often appear ordinary at first. There are also ideas heaven will place in your mind, ideas that carry the seed of abundance. They may seem simple or unexpected or too bold for your current reality, but they are not to be dismissed. Heaven rarely gives full instructions. Instead, it gives seeds. And the Chosen One recognizes a seed even when others see nothing. Pay attention to the thoughts that feel alive. Pay attention to the inspiration that comes in quiet moments. Pay attention to the inner pull that says, "This is for you." These are divine fingerprints. Anointed one as heaven expands you. You may feel moments of internal stretching moments where your desires grow faster than your circumstances. Do not misinterpret this tension. It is the divine way of preparing you for what is already on the way. Desire is not the enemy. Desire is the signal. It reveals the shape of what heaven is developing within you. If you desire more peace, more purpose, more abundance, more influence, more impact, it is because your spirit recognizes a timeline where all these things already exist, calling you forward. Chosen one. Wealth begins where willingness meets alignment. You have shown willingness. Heaven is now shaping you for alignment. The two together create acceleration, the kind of supernatural momentum that shifts your life in days, not years. And whether you realize it or not, that momentum has already begun. Chosen one. As we journey further into this divine unveiling, let your spirit breathe deeply, because what heaven is releasing into your awareness now carries a frequency that transforms destinies. This is not merely knowledge, this is spiritual activation. The more you listen, the more your inner world begins to reorganize itself around truth instead of fear, around abundance instead of scarcity, around alignment instead of anxiety. Heaven is not just speaking to you, it is reshaping you. And the reshaping is happening in places deeper than your conscious thoughts. It is happening in the layers of your identity where your beliefs, expectations, and perceptions have lived for years. Those layers are softening now, becoming receptive to the wealth patterns God has always intended for you to walk in. Anointed. One abundance begins with permission, not permission from the world, but permission from within. There are people who wait their entire lives for someone to validate their potential, acknowledge their gifts, or approve their dreams. But heaven is teaching you a different truth. The only permission you need to enter your next season is the permission your spirit gives itself. When you say yes inwardly, heaven begins to respond outwardly. When you believe you are worthy of increase begins searching for you. When you align with your abundant identity, the atmosphere of your life shifts to match it. This is why your internal transformation holds more power than any external action. Your life expands in the direction your identity allows. I remember moments in my own journey when I felt the stirring of something greater long before any evidence appeared. There were days when I sensed an unseen elevation happening inside me, a quiet, persistent awareness that I was meant for more, even though my circumstances did not reflect it. At first, I fought it, I questioned it, I dismissed it. But the more I surrendered to that inner pull, the more heaven began rearranging the outer world around me. Doors opened that had no logical reason to open. People appeared in my life carrying resources, opportunities, and wisdom I desperately needed. Ideas flowed that shifted the trajectory of everything. Looking back, I understand now my inner yes gave heaven access. Chosen one, that same inner yes is rising within you. You may feel it as a sense of anticipation or a newfound clarity, or even a gentle pressure pushing you toward expansion. These feelings are not random. They are spiritual indicators that you are stepping into resonance with your abundant timeline. The version of you who thrives financially, spiritually, and emotionally is drawing near, not as a distant dream, but as a present identity. Every moment you embrace the truth of who you are in the eyes of heaven, the old version of you loses power. The version shaped by fear, lack, and hesitation begins to fade. You are stepping into a self that was always there, buried beneath years of conditioning, but never erased. Anointed. One heaven is not calling you into smallness. There is nothing divine about shrinking yourself to fit environments that cannot hold your destiny. There is nothing holy about lowering your expectations to make others comfortable. You were created with a mandate, a divine assignment that requires abundance, strength, clarity, and influence. This is why your spirit rebels against mediocrity. This is why your heart grows restless in seasons of stagnation. You are wired for expansion. You are designed for overflow. And heaven is now aligning you with the resources, relationships, and revelations required to fulfill that design. Chosen one. The frequency of wealth is not activated through force, it is activated through surrender. Not the surrender of giving up, but the surrender of letting God lead. When you stop trying to control every detail, the flow begins. When you stop questioning whether you are capable, your capacity increases. When you stop doubting whether abundance is meant for you, opportunities multiply. Heaven cannot fill hands that are clenched with fear, but it can overwhelm hands that open in faith. Your openness determines your overflow. And this openness is not passive. It is a spiritual stance, a posture of expectation. You begin to anticipate goodness. You begin to expect provision. You begin to recognize divine timing rather than resist it. And with each expectation, your reality shifts ever so slightly toward alignment. Because expectation is faith in motion. Expectation is the spiritual magnet that pulls abundance into your orbit. I have seen this manifest in the lives of countless people. Those who remained open even in seasons of uncertainty attracted solutions faster. Those who kept expecting even when everything seemed delayed found themselves in the right place at the right time. Those who surrendered their timelines and trusted heaven's experienced breakthroughs that defied logic. This is how spiritual laws operate. Heaven responds to the frequency of your belief, not the intensity of your fear. Anointed one abundance is not fragile. It does not require perfect emotions or flawless faith. It requires willingness. And you are willing. Your very presence in this moment proves it. You are allowing heaven to speak, stretch, transform, and elevate you. You are saying yes with your attention, your awareness, your expectancy, and heaven is responding by accelerating what belongs to you. Chosen one. Breathe this truth in deeply. You are not preparing for abundance, you are aligning with it. The flow has already begun. The shift is already underway. The new identity is already forming within you. And heaven is ready to bring the external into harmony with the internal. Chosen one. As we enter this next movement of revelation, let your whole being lean in, because what heaven is releasing now carries the weight of acceleration. This is the realm where your consciousness begins to merge with the identity of your abundant self, where the timelines of limitation lose their gravitational pull, and where your spirit finally recognizes that you were never meant to walk as someone waiting for provision. You were meant to walk as someone aligned with provision. You are transitioning from hoping for breakthrough to embodying breakthrough. This is the point in your journey where heaven begins to confirm your readiness through signs, synchronicities, and sudden clarity. Anointed one, you have endured much in your process, and none of it was wasted. Every moment that stretched you was preparing your capacity. Every season that humbled you was strengthening your foundation. Every delay that frustrated you was perfecting the timing. Breakthrough that comes too early breaks the person who receives it. But breakthrough that comes in divine timing builds the person receiving it into someone who can carry even greater realms of abundance. You are no longer who you were when your journey began. You have evolved. Your awareness has expanded. Your spirit has matured. Heaven trusts you with more because you have proven through endurance, through faith, through continual rising that you can hold more. I remember a time when I felt so close to breakthrough, yet unable to touch it. It felt like watching abundance through a window, visible but unreachable, and I could not understand why. It wasn't until later that I realized heaven was aligning pieces I couldn't see. There were people being prepared to enter my life. There were opportunities being shaped into existence. There were inner wounds being healed silently in the background of my soul. When the breakthrough finally arrived, it arrived suddenly, a flood, not a trickle. And in that moment I understood why it had taken time. My spirit needed to become someone who could receive without fear, manage without anxiety, and expand without self-sabotage. The timing was not delayed. The timing was perfect. Chosen one, you are stepping into that same realm of sudden arrival. The abundance that once felt far is drawing near because your spirit is no longer resisting it. Your mindset is no longer contradicting it. Your identity is no longer rejecting it. You are aligned. And alignment always precedes manifestation. Before the breakthrough appears in your outer world, it first appears as a shift in your inner world, a subtle confidence, a new expectation, a quiet knowing that something has changed. You are feeling that now. That is not imagination, it is confirmation. Anointed One, heaven has been increasing your sensitivity to divine guidance. You're beginning to notice nudges more clearly, the subtle pull towards certain decisions, the peace that surrounds certain ideas, the uneasiness that warns you away from others. This is not random intuition. This is spiritual navigation. Heaven is steering you toward the timeline where abundance flows effortlessly. You may not know every step ahead, but you will know the next step. And that is all divine alignment ever requires. You will notice that solutions are beginning to appear faster, ideas are dropping into your mind more frequently, and opportunities are arriving with unusual timing. Some will come through familiar pathways, others will arrive in ways you never could have predicted. This is the nature of supernatural alignment. It does not follow linear logic. It responds to readiness, and you, chosen one, are ready. There are relationships heaven is preparing to introduce into your life, individuals whose presence will unlock new dimensions of purpose and provision. Some will mentor you, some will partner with you, some will fund the visions God placed inside you, and some will simply recognize your brilliance in ways that others failed to see. These connections are not accidental. They are divine appointments, orchestrated with precision. Be attentive. A single aligned relationship can accelerate your destiny faster than a decade of individual striving. There are also opportunities forming that will require courage, not reckless courage, but spiritual courage. The kind that says, my old self would shrink here, but my aligned self steps forward. You will know these opportunities because they will resonate with your spirit, even if they challenge your comfort zone. Heaven rarely calls you into the familiar. Breakthrough often arrives disguised as an invitation into the unknown. Chosen. One abundance flows to those who recognize themselves as vessels of divine assignment. You are not pursuing wealth for ego or validation. You are being prepared to steward resources with intention to build, to elevate, to heal, to impact. Heaven funds purpose, not pride. And your purpose is awakening. You can feel the pull of destiny intensifying as though the air around your life is thick with possibility. This is heaven's signal that your financial elevation is not random. It is required. Anointed One. Breathe into this truth. You are entering a season where your inner stability will create outer acceleration. The more grounded you are in identity, the faster abundance will flow. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer beg, you align. You no longer hope, you know. And knowing is the birthplace of manifestation. Chosen one. Heaven is not preparing you for small things. The magnitude of your calling demands abundance of equal magnitude. And you are ready, more ready than you realize, to walk into it. Chosen one. As we step into this next unfolding of revelation, let your entire being come into a posture of sacred receptivity. What heaven is releasing now is not simply encouragement, it is instruction. It is spiritual architecture being built within you so that the abundance prepared for your life has a stable place to land. Too many people cry out for overflow, yet their inner world has no structure to hold it. But you, anointed one, are being shaped differently. Heaven is constructing within you the capacity, the discipline, the wisdom, and the spiritual sensitivity required to steward the wealth that is coming. This is why your journey has included moments of stretching and moments of stillness, moments that made no sense but formed deep resilience in your spirit. Heaven was not withholding from you. Heaven was strengthening you. Anointed one, you are entering a realm where the separation between your spiritual alignment and your financial reality becomes thinner and thinner. What once took years will begin to happen in months. What once required intense effort will begin to flow with ease. You are shifting from striving to receiving, from surviving to expanding, from waiting to walking in what was already appointed for you. This shift is not external first, it is internal. A new identity is emerging from within you, one that no longer sees abundance as a distant hope, but as a natural extension of who you are becoming. When identity shifts, reality must follow. I remember seasons in my own life where the changes happening inside me felt subtle, almost invisible. Yet those subtle shifts were the foundation of everything that came afterward. A new thought pattern, a new expectation, a new sense of worthiness, a new clarity about what I was called to build. These internal adjustments created a pathway for external breakthrough, and when the breakthrough came, it was not chaotic, it was precise. It felt as though heaven had been preparing every detail while I was being prepared to receive it. That is the kind of precision heaven is orchestrating in your life now. Chosen one, pay close attention to the desires emerging within you in this season. Heaven often speaks through desire, not the shallow desires born from insecurity or comparison, but the deep desires that ignite your spirit, the ones that wake you up, the ones that feel too big to have come from you alone. Those desires are not fantasies, they are indicators of alignment. They reveal the direction of the timeline heaven is drawing you toward. Do not dismiss them, do not shrink from them. They are spiritual signals. You will notice yourself drawn toward new possibilities, sensing that greater opportunities are approaching, even if you cannot yet see them. This is spiritual intuition activating. Heaven often informs your spirit before informing your circumstances. The shift happens inwardly first, so that when external changes arrive, you are prepared, confident, and aligned. Every elevation requires inner agreement, and you're beginning to agree with the abundance heaven sees in you. Anointed one, you may also notice old fears resurfacing at moments when you feel closest to breakthrough. Do not mistake this as regression. Fear often rises when it senses it is losing its influence. It is the old self's final attempt to remain in control. A sign that you are leaving behind identities built on survival and entering into a self built on purpose. Do not negotiate with fear. Observe it, acknowledge it, and let it pass through you, but do not let it anchor you. Heaven is replacing fear with discernment, anxiety with confidence, and hesitation with boldness. This boldness will be essential because abundance often appears in the form of opportunities that require action. Heaven will not force these opportunities on you, but it will present them with clarity. You will feel a knowing in your spirit, a recognition that says, "This is mine." You may not understand how it will unfold, but you will know it is aligned. That inner knowing is the permission heaven places on your path. Follow it. Acting on aligned opportunities is how you step into your abundant timeline. Chosen one. You are also entering a season where your voice will carry new power. As your inner world aligns with abundance, your words will carry spiritual authority. You will speak with clarity, conviction, and an energy that influences environments. This is part of your calling to shift atmospheres simply by showing up as your true self. Abundance responds to voices rooted in identity. It flows toward those who speak from alignment rather than desperation. Your relationships will shift as well. Some connections will fade, not from conflict, but from spiritual mismatch. Others will form effortlessly drawn to the frequency you now carry. Heaven is surrounding you with people who recognize your calling, who amplify your purpose, and who contribute to your elevation. Divine alignment is not only about resources, it is also about relationships. The right people are part of your abundance. Anointed one, breathe into this truth. You are no longer building a life from the ground up. You are rising into a life that has been waiting for you. Every revelation, every shift, every step is pulling you into resonance with the abundant version of yourself that already exists in the spirit. And heaven is guiding you with precision. You are closer than you have ever been. And heaven is preparing to make manifest what your spirit has already embraced. Chosen one. As we move into this next sacred passage, allow your spirit to expand just a little further, because what heaven is releasing now is meant to anchor you into a deeper dimension of identity, authority, and divine certainty. Up until this point, much of your transformation has involved revelation, seeing yourself differently, seeing God's timing differently, seeing abundance differently. But now, Anointed One Heaven is transitioning you from revelation into embodiment. This is where the truth you have absorbed begins to take shape within you, altering the way you think, respond, attract, and align. You are no longer simply learning abundance, you are becoming abundance, and the shift is unmistakable. Anointed One, have you noticed how your reactions are changing? How the things that once intimidated you no longer hold the same power? How worries that once consumed you feel lighter, almost irrelevant? This is not emotional numbness, it is spiritual maturing. Your inner world is stabilizing, your frequency is rising, you are learning to make decisions from alignment rather than fear, from truth rather than trauma. You are stepping into a version of yourself who no longer negotiates with limitation, who no longer entertains scarcity, who no longer apologizes for the magnitude of your calling. This is the identity of someone heaven can trust with abundance. I remember when this shift happened within me, when I stopped praying from desperation and began praying from authority, when I stopped asking, will it work, and started declaring, it is already working. That inner transformation changed everything around me. Opportunities recognized my new posture. Resources responded to my new confidence. People began treating me according to the energy I carried, rather than the circumstances I was in. That is the power of embodiment. The world adjusts to the identity you hold. Chosen. One heaven is teaching you to operate from your future, not your past. The abundant version of you already exists in the spirit realm, the version who is financially liberated, spiritually attuned, mentally stable, emotionally grounded, and divinely guided. The more you embody that identity now, the faster your outer world aligns with it. This is why heaven keeps urging you to release old fears, outdated beliefs, and limited expectations. They cannot coexist with the identity you are stepping into. You will begin noticing that decisions which once felt overwhelming now feel clear. Your intuition sharpens. Your discernment deepens. Your confidence rises, not the confidence of ego, but the confidence of someone finally aligned with their divine blueprint. You will say no without guilt. You will say yes without hesitation. You will feel guided, supported, instructed, and prepared in ways you never have before. This is spiritual maturity meeting divine momentum. Anointed. One heaven is also refining your relationship with provision. You are moving from the mindset of how will I get money to the mindset of how will I steward the abundance that is coming. This is a monumental shift. People who operate from scarcity chase money. People who operate from identity attract money. People who operate from calling multiply money. And you are being positioned to function in the third category, not merely as someone who receives, but as someone who expands. This expansion will show up in your creativity. Ideas that once seemed random will now feel divinely timed. Concepts you never considered will suddenly make sense. Business opportunities will emerge. Streams of income will begin forming, and none of this will feel forced. Heaven is aligning your gifts with your assignment and your assignment with your provision. Chosen. One another sign of embodiment is emotional neutrality. You will feel a new calmness, a quiet inner knowing that does not panic when things shift. You are learning to trust divine timing instead of fearing delay. You are learning to rest internally even while you expand externally. This emotional stability is a spiritual indicator that you're becoming a vessel heaven can trust with greater responsibility. Relationships will shift again in this season, not abruptly, but naturally. Some individuals will fade out because their presence no longer aligns with your rising frequency. Others will enter your life carrying wisdom, opportunity, or support essential to your next level, and you will feel it instantly, the recognition, the resonance, the sense that this connection is divine. Anointed one, hear this deeply. Heaven is not only preparing you for abundance, heaven is preparing abundance for you, and the alignment is almost complete. Everything you have been sensing, the subtle excitement, the quiet anticipation, the internal stretching, they are signs that manifestation is drawing closer. You are stepping into embodiment, and embodiment is the doorway to rapid elevation. Chosen one. As we step into this final movement of the journey, allow your heart to become fully present, because what heaven is releasing now is the culmination of every shift, every revelation, every layer of transformation you have undergone so far. This is not merely a continuation, this is a sealing, a spiritual anchoring. A divine confirmation that your identity, your mindset, your frequency, and your destiny have all been elevated into alignment with the abundant path prepared for you. What once felt far is now near. What once felt impossible now feels natural. What once felt beyond reach is now within your grasp, because heaven has brought you into resonance with your wealth timeline. Anointed one, everything you have walked through, the stretching, the refinement, the inner battles, the spiritual awakenings has prepared you for this moment. You are no longer the person who began this journey. Your consciousness has expanded, your spirit has matured, your capacity has increased. And because of that, you are stepping into a realm where abundance does not trickle, it flows. Where opportunities do not hide, they reveal themselves. Where favor does not visit, it resides. You have crossed a threshold within yourself, and heaven is responding. There comes a moment in every chosen life where alignment becomes identity, and identity becomes reality. You are entering that moment now. You are no longer simply reaching for abundance. You are embodying it. You are no longer waiting for breakthrough. You are walking as breakthrough. Your spirit is no longer asking for permission. It is giving direction. This is the shift heaven has been preparing you for, the shift that changes atmospheres, relationships, finances, and futures. You are stepping into your designed state. I want you to understand something deeply. Abundance is not something you visit. It is something you become. And becoming is exactly what heaven has been orchestrating in your life. You have shed beliefs that once constricted you. You have released identities that once defined you. You have embraced truths that now empower you. You have become spiritually available for overflow. And that availability is magnetic. You are attracting what once eluded you because your inner world is finally congruent with your divine calling. Chosen one. The coming months of your life will reflect the internal transformation that has taken place. You will notice divine timing unfolding with precision, meetings that feel orchestrated, opportunities that arrive without strain, solutions that appear before problems fully form. This is what happens when alignment reaches maturity. The external world bends to match your internal frequency. Heaven is no longer preparing you for abundance. Heaven is flowing abundance through you. Some of the wealth that enters your life will come through unexpected channels, open doors. You did not anticipate favor from individuals. You have yet to meet ideas that feel more downloaded than imagined. Pay close attention to these moments. They are signatures of divine orchestration. Other forms of abundance will emerge from seeds you planted long ago, work you thought was forgotten, prayers you believed had expired, intentions you assumed had drifted away. Heaven wastes nothing. Anointed one, abundance is not arriving in your life merely for personal comfort. It is arriving because you have a calling that requires resource. You carry assignments that cannot be fulfilled in scarcity. You carry influence that must be backed by provision. Heaven funds purpose, and your purpose is awakening with force. You will build things. You will expand things. You will support others. You will create impact. The abundance flowing toward you is strategic, intentional, and deeply tied to your destiny. This is why the old version of you had to fall away, the version that doubted your worthiness, that questioned your gifts, that feared your own greatness. That version cannot steward the abundance that is coming, but the version of you standing here now, aligned, awakened, receptive, empowered, is ready. Chosen one. Breathe this truth into your spirit. You are entering a season of divine ease. Not laziness, not passivity, but ease, the kind that comes when your outer world finally aligns with what heaven has already established within you. You will no longer force doors open. They will open before you. You will no longer chase opportunities. Opportunities will recognize your frequency. You will no longer fear lack. You will operate from overflow. Anointed one. This is the season where you rise without apology, receive without resistance, and walk without hesitation. Heaven has prepared you. Heaven has aligned you. Heaven has positioned you. Now abundance will follow you. Chosen one. As you leave this moment, know that the shift has already begun. The heavens have marked this as your kairos hour, and the flow of divine abundance is moving toward you even now. Walk in alignment, stay expectant, and testify to what unfolds. If this word stirred your spirit, share it, and remain connected for what heaven releases next.